Thank you. Ready to go. Okay, as I do have the aforementioned large paper due tomorrow, I'm hoping we can make this quite efficient, this meeting. So we'll jump right in. Are we what?
Are you calling to order?
Oh, calling to order. Love, thank you. Approval of the agenda, any late items?
Jillian has just sent me a presentation, which I can also supporting. It's a document related to item 6.1 that we'll just talk through. Yeah.
Okay, great. Got none of that, sir.
Yes, I do. But
Okay, so I'll just move to approve the agenda. And yes, good, okay, approved. Adoption of the minutes. I'm going to assume that everybody's had, yes?
move adoption.
Move adoption.
Second.
Second. Thank you. Did you just adopt the minutes?
Yep.
Okay,
What the old grants?
we're all in agreement? Yes, yes. Okay. Great. Any notice of public comments? Okay, we can move right on to section 4. So it's for you, Simeon. Okay.
Is that coming up? Yeah.
Right.
Yes, it is. All right. You okay? You want to take it away?
Yeah,
Perfect.
So, hello, everybody. My name is Simeon, of course, and I appreciate the opportunity to present this indefinitely. So the overview, the next slide. The theme is a wild style graffiti piece that spells out Bowen, and the purpose is to contribute to Bowen Island's artistic culture through expanding previous boundaries. The art style is intricate and complex lettering that displays aspects of maturity through sleek design and a Bowen-inspired color palette. Next slide. Unless you want to look at the piece, but yeah. As you have probably figured out, I plan to situate the art piece on the bike shed next to the ferry terminal to ensure high traffic and optimal visibility. The piece will be made up of 4 vertical plywood panels, making the total dimensions 8 feet tall by 16 feet wide. The wall itself is 9 feet tall, so it'll come 1 foot off the ground to minimize the amount of space that is blocked by the bikes. Next slide.
These keys there.
This is the kind of art piece that can be enjoyed by all. It appeals to the youth who love seeing street art while also giving that professional aspect and leaving out the childish look that a lot of modern graffiti displays. This way, the mature audience can enjoy it too. And being next to the ferry, I'm sure the tourists will love it as well, and it'll quickly become a Bowen icon. Next slide. The budget and materials, the plywood, I went to the building center and the total came out to 105. The paints, same thing, around 224 approximately. Brushes, approximately 41, making the total $370, and that is not including the primer or the sealant, because I heard that there might be some left over from previous projects that I would be able to use. Next slide. This project would add a unique and vibrant artistic element to a key public space, while reflecting Bowen Island's cultural heritage through its aesthetics. What I'm offering is a high-quality professional mural done in a cost-effective way. And by approving this project, you would support your local artist as well as foster community pride. My goal is to inspire people and show them that if they want to become a street artist, there's a way to do it legally without committing acts of vandalism, like a lot of people are doing nowadays. And with your help, I can show them that there is a path in which they can create beauty for the public and bring some color to this world. Thank you. I appreciate you taking this into consideration. I look forward to contributing to Bowen Island's art culture.
Thank you, Simeon.
Yeah.
So
Any questions?
I'll open it up to the floor if there are. I have a couple, but I'll
Sure, I'd just like to thank you first for taking the time to prepare this presentation and your thoughtful way today. I appreciate that. I'd like to hear a little bit about you and your art background and what brought you to this.
Well, let's see. Been doing art since I was 3 years old, starting out at stick figures of my parents and my sisters. But then, of course, when I got into high school, I wasn't doing it too much. And then my friends or the people that I became friends with were all doing graffiti. So, of course, we were like writing on bus stops and whatever. But then I realized that that was not what I wanted to do because of the, consequences and what it does to society. So what I did was I bought an iPad so I could use Procreate, the drawing software, to do even better work and then also legally. So I just thought that that was the best path, and I've been doing that for about 2.5 years. I got a 4 out of 5 on the AP Arts grade 12 class. Also doing graffiti, letter art, all those kind of things. And ever since then, it's kind of just been a hobby. And yeah, I have a bar downtown who wants me to do some art for them as well. So I'm super excited for that. And I thought that this would be a great place to start out as well.
Totally.
Connection to Bowen.
Oh, I moved here when I was 4 years old. My parents, they immigrated to Canada, I think like 21 years ago. They lived in Kitts, and then they were like, you know what, let's go to Bowen Island. Why? I don't know, but I'm glad they did. It was amazing growing up here.
Yeah.
But yeah, I went to IDLC until grade 8, and then I went to Rockridge after that.
Okay. Yeah. Good. So you've elaborated a little bit, Simeon, on some of your artistic background. Can you talk about any prior experience working in this particular method that you're proposing in terms of its scale and materials?
The scale and materials, not particularly. I have done like slightly bigger pieces before, but I am very confident that I'm going to use a projector to at least get the sketch done.
Mhm.
So once it comes down to the paintbrush and the paint, I am fully confident in my skills to make it as perfect and good as possible.
So the transition from doing your digital graphics on through Procreate as they translate into actual paint, you've got experience with like using paint and brushes as a media.
Well, throughout my life, yes.
Yes. Okay.
I only started using digital around like 2 years ago,
Gotcha.
even maybe a bit less than that. I'm not sure.
Okay.
But yeah, no, I'd absolutely, especially with the sketch being down, that I can do very easily. And then afterwards, I
So
don't
you
see
can
it.
basically project the design you've created in Procreate onto the wall and work from there as a
Yeah.
template kind of thing. Yeah. Okay. Awesome. I had one kind of like niggly technical question. The plywood, what were you speccing for plywood? That cost seems very low to me.
I know,
So,
I know.
yeah.
I was pleasantly surprised as well. I went to the building center and it was the 3/8 of an inch, and it was the indoor plywood, just 3/8 of an inch,
Right.
4 by 8 feet. And they were like, yeah, 26.50 each. So times 4 is 105. Because yeah, Jamie also mentioned to me that like you guys thought that each piece of ply would be around 100. So I went and checked, and turns out the economy hasn't gone that badly.
And because it's undercover, would interior be okay? It'd have to be exterior paint.
No, the indoor would be fine because it's not exposed to the elements there at all. The
Also
only,
the primer on, or not the sealant on top as well.
right, yeah. The only kind of consideration would be to actually prime the entire panel, like both sides, so that,
Mhm.
because if you only apply paint on one side, it'll warm. So that was the only thing. And how did you imagine fixing the plywood panels? So were you thinking you would install the plywood panels and paint from there, or do
No,
panels like from your
Similar to
house?
the one that's along the concrete wall
Yep.
next to the ferry already.
Yeah.
I'm assuming it was done already and then they fixated it to the wall. So I was thinking something similar to that.
Okay, yep.
Maybe with screws or something. I'm not sure if you guys would want holes left in the plywood to when.
Yeah, we could certainly sort out details like that, when the time came. Good. I think, the only last question I would have for you, Simeon, is, based on the kind of, transition scale wise and material wise into that larger format. If the committee felt a little more comfortable, going forward with it, with even just some, another artist, with a little bit more experience in that kind of, in that kind of size, and genre, not necessarily graffiti art, but just that kind of scale of mural painting. If they, would you be open to like having them?
Absolutely,
hand
and
to-
Jimmy already talked to me
Yeah.
about this too, and I said that I was very open to that.
Okay. That's all for my question.
Peter Bradbury.
Jean, okay, yeah,
I haven't asked Jean, but I'm sure if it's a mentorship, she will be.
right. Okay, yeah, if you're willing, I'm not saying it's absolutely going to be necessary, but
No, I get
it'd
it.
be good to have an answer for that before we have to come buggy later, if that was to come up. So, yeah, any other questions from anybody else? Mary Lynn or Bill, any questions? Bill, please go ahead.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. It seems like I'm always asking these questions, but who will own this artwork?
We'll own it.
Yeah, good point, Phil. So I think in terms of ownership, as soon as the PAC recommends moving forward with that, the ownership would be taken on by the municipality, even though copyright would always, of course, remain with the artist. So I think that in our donations policy, we would sign that contract and the ownership would be transferred at that point, which would absolve Simeon of responsibility for maintenance and that sort of thing. Am I?
Yes, I believe
that's
so.
my,
And part of our process before we can make a decision if we're proceeding or not is to, put together that budget for maintenance and estimated longevity and all that.
Yeah, based on the log block wall, we've been very lucky there, so I suspect that would be minimal, yeah. Any concerns about that, Phil, or is that,
That was basically just to get that explained, the legal stuff, I guess.
no, as much
Are
for
we-
Simeon as all of us, yeah.
Yeah. And would Simeon be okay if we had to move it? If the bike shed had to get repaired or for some reason?
Absolutely.
Okay.
What about, if, I'm sort of thinking out possibilities, when the committee discuss it more, if there's preferences towards some different colors or the sizing changed a little bit, are you flexible in some of that, or do you feel, like I'm just thinking, for example, 8 feet, taking it to within a foot of the ground might be too much. It might actually work better if it was shorter, for example. I'm just thinking, wondering about your flexibility in this area. We'd obviously come back and ask these things again, but.
You like me to answer that?
Yeah, just about, flexibility towards modifying it.
Well, yeah,
That's
of course, of course, in my own personal bias, I want it as big and grand as possible. But yeah, of course, if it came down to it, I would be okay with changing the size. The only thing is it needs to be a 1:2 ratio. So that's exactly like the dimensions of the piece itself.
Right.
So that's why like 8:16, 4:8, 1:2, whatever. And then you mentioned the colors as well. Would that be something that you would want to check?
I don't know, I'm just thinking of what may be discussed in,
So I
think they're
really
based
like-
on Bow and brand colors, aren't they?
Mhm.
Yeah.
I really like the colors because exactly like I guess they're not in this room. I saw them out there, like with the seal and the
Yeah.
deer and all of that, like exactly those colors are the ones that I used for it.
Yeah, I don't know that I feel great if we were trying to prescribe too much as to
No,
artist vision and all of that, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It dates us though, that's all. If it's Bowen branded colors and the brand changes, then it's not,
Then it's the previous brand.
it's previous brand, that's all.
It's old school.
Yeah, that's fine.
The new modern old school.
Yeah.
That's right. Okay, anything else?
Yeah,
Yes.
Simeon, I think you looked for some money through the grant and aid through them.
Mhm.
Yeah, do you want to talk a little bit about that? About what you've done so far and if there's some money?
Mhm. Well, yeah, I did get in contact with them and they said that, like I gave, of course, the proposal and everything, and they did say that they would be willing to give a grant. It's just the only holdup was of course, government permission that I needed to get the grant. So it's kind of like a,
Catch 22.
yeah, catch 22, where it's like I need one thing for the other. But I am very sure that I would be able to get the grants from them.
Yeah, that helps too. Any of that helps, yeah.
Mhm.
Simeon did that on his own.
Yeah, nice.
Yeah.
Good work. Excellent. Well, listen, if that is it,
Question about if it was damaged,
yes,
the bike scratches it,
Mhm.
I'm hoping that the cover, whatever you call that, would protect it also from graffiti. Who would be cleaning it? Would that be us?
well then, yes, because maintenance responsibilities would fall to the owner,
Yeah.
which would be us once we sign the contract with Simeon to transfer that over. So yeah, that would be maintenance. Usually, I think how that would go down is if there were some damage that needed to be repaired. I mean, personally, I think given the context and the environment down there, we got to accept that there's going to be some, minimal scratching and stuff like that, just because of the usage of the site. But if there was something deliberate or really
If my
something,
enemies found out,
yeah, there you go.
I'm too young to have enemies.
or I can bring a sponge every time I get on the ferry.
We would probably look at that on a case-by-case basis. It would probably just fall under general routine maintenance for the public art committee. Yeah.
Is there a chance that maybe we can put a fake camera in the shed?
Oh,
Just so people think, oh my God, I'm being watched. I won't spray paint it. I don't know. That stops.
Yeah,
people.
but dark hoodies, teenagers.
Yeah, they're
you
too,
know,
they're pretty smart.
Yeah, when I was hanging around those guys, they did not care.
No, okay.
yeah, I can't imagine that being much of a deterrent. Yeah, so I think we're gonna call that time on this just because we're getting a little bit over our mark. So I just want to thank you for coming in and your excellent presentation. Gives us I think we're all quite excited about this. Gives us some food for thought. We'll kind of carry on with our discussions, and we have to work things out on the back end, of course, and then I think, Jamie, you'll be our conduit as you have been. So whatever decision comes forward, you'll hear that through Jamie at a certain point. I can't give you a timeline at the moment, but we're trying to fast track some of these
Do you know
things.
if it'll be like at least by the spring or summer?
I would think hopefully within a month.
Oh,
Yeah.
perfect.
Okay.
Amazing.
Okay,
Is that all?
that is everything.
Wonderful.
Thanks for coming in.
Well,
Thank you.
appreciate it.
Have a good night.
Should I just put this couple?
Absolutely.
I'll
Yeah.
take care of it, you can leave it. It's fine.
Have a good night.
Thank you, Simeon. Okay, is there so that was oh, we're going to close for the discussion on that. Eh?
Yeah, great.
Thank
So
you.
I think you're.
We're on number 5, business arising from the minutes. So the 2025 budget requests. Where is it?
We have to put forth our request.
Okay.
What we want
From our
to spend
discussion,
money
were
on.
you-
Yes,
yeah,
do.
yeah. Was there any, did you have anything written down from that discussion the other day?
No, we didn't talk numbers or anything
Okay.
like that, did we? So But before we do, I actually want to sort of add something into the equation for consideration. That's for this. For budget.
Budget, yeah.
For budget. Because this is, if we want to implement a major project next year, this is where we have to, decide how much money it's going to cost. Because although the budget doesn't come from operating, it needs to be transferred from the reserve to capital projects, and that needs to happen as part of the full budget process. So, I've been speaking with senior staff in municipality and members of council in the last while, talking about, this being an item coming forth in the committee, thinking about new works. It's been repeatedly asked of me, would the committee consider just commissioning, purchasing some art for the community center as an element of the budget in 2025, whether that's local, whether that's Indigenous art from the Squamish, something that's at the community center right off the bat, because therethe's a very long corridor with no art on it in this facility, right? So getting something on there, and it's been said, that, there hasn't been a project in a while. There are some funds in the kitty.
Okay.
Could we just do something right away and get some art in there?
Right.
So I'm presenting it for consideration with the committee.
Okay, so there's two things going on. That question of would that be something we'd consider? And if so, what sort of implications would that have to our budget request? And so, sorry, you'll have to remind me again, because I always get this a little bit mixed up. There's a standing investment from municipality of $10,000 every year into our reserves for public art.
And that rolls over.
And that rolls over.
Yeah.
So the budget request is actually,
What do we want from that to spend next year? Plus.
okay, I see what you're saying.
Plus, I'm making an assumption that, and the $2,500 that's been mentioned as the maintenance component of the public art budget would be also requested.
Right.
Yeah. So I was just sort of assuming that piece, 2,500.
Yeah.
Do you know how much is in the kitty?
I think, I'm sorry, not sure if that actually includes 2025. But it's $40,000 for sure.
Okay.
And I was told 50, but I'm not positive that includes 2025.
Well, then, yeah, I think, given that there are some decent funds available for that, and we haven't actually, achieved any major projects since the lock wall, it would be about time for us to do that. And I think our earlier discussions about the concrete plinth, that's one of the other major considerations that we've got on the table.
Mhm.
So I wonder if we can think about trying to achieve both things. So, and maybe it's a matter of prioritizing, like an open call for work specifically for the community center, as a major project. And, at the same time, try and work towards, securing a site and working up some numbers for the kind of concrete
Mhm.
rotating plinth.
Really?
Oh, yes, Mary Lynn,
Yeah.
thank you.
Jillian, just a question. You said, the way that you, spoke just now, it sounded like more than one piece of art, like is buying art. Are you talking about inside the community center too, or just outside?
I'm only talking about inside because I think that's where the greatest need is right now, rather than on the exterior. And I think it's completely up to committee decision if it would be one piece, multiple pieces, what the extent of the value is. I was just proposing it conceptually as opposed to anything concrete like that. So I keep looking at you over there, but then that's, yeah. I know, but this nervous, I'm looking in the camera.
Okay,
I can move
thanks
over.
for, thanks for clarifying that. I have a vision that public art is outside, not inside. That's just when I think of public art, it's accessible to everybody outside. So, and I don't really think of art like in hospitals and community centers and stuff as being public art, but Phil is nodding, I see.
Phil's nodding his head.
Okay.
Yeah.
Just,
Yeah, I wonder if it's a bit of a gray area, given the fact that it's not a private building, it is a civic community building. With a lot of through traffic, it is accessible to the public. The only distinction being that it does close, at night, but. Judy?
Anybody ever priced out a welcome pool? From somebody like, from an artist in the Squamish Nation? So if we've got, say we've just figures, if we've got 40,000 and we took off 2,500 for maintenance, I don't know what a plant would cost, but let's say, outrageously 7,500, that leaves 30,000. And if it's 40 or maybe 50, is that the ballpark for something as like a First Nations Squamish in particular in terms of their welcoming poles? That would be so fabulous for a new center. And the other, in terms of all the interior walls, it's like, there's so much art around. I've got a basement full of stuff, right? And I'm sure that there's, Ian Henley's got an incredible collection. He's looking for, well, I don't know if he is actively, he was talking about, trying to figure out what to do with it kind of thing. And then there's all the woodward stuff, and there's probably others. Even if we had a rotating exhibit of local collections or, some sort of rent home program, I don't know, that's a long way away, lots of planning. But in terms of the budget, I think we should just go for the whole thing and then figure out, how much of it we can allocate to the installation, the maintenance, and then whatever is to be left for major purchase for the new center. Because I didn't realize it was 40,000, so it's been 4 years of it, maybe 5, and if that can build up again pretty quickly. I think personally, I would like to splurge for the new center. It gotta be fabulous.
I think that we had talked about purchasing a piece of art for outside of the community center, but I think, Jillian, you probably have over the time said, no, we're not ready. We don't know where it's gonna go. The landscaping hasn't been done. So I think we sort of just put that to the side to wait till when the community center is ready.
Which maybe is now, for planning.
Yeah. Can I have one more thing? I agree with Mary Lynn that I don't think it's indoor art. I think it's outdoor art. That's at least my feeling with the public art. It's an outdoor piece that everyone enjoys. I also feel that if there's an idea to purchase original art to hang in the hallway at the community center, like Judy said, there's plenty of art out there. And what happens to those pieces that you purchase when somebody does want to take over that wall? Then where do those pieces that you've purchased for $20,000 or $30,000? Where do those expensive pieces of art go? Is to be stored.
And I guess that would be committee figuring that out. There are quite a few balls though. Put things on, but absolutely. And maybe this committee wants to curate that wall and be in charge of figuring out local exhibits and artists instead of.
Could be a
galleries, all that.
rotating,
Yeah, it's certainly not
annual
within the
shit,
job
yeah.
description of anybody at this time.
No.
So that might be a great role.
It could be.
Yeah.
Build that into the yearly programming. So a simple yearly open call for new work, 2D work to go up in a temporary fashion. So we're not, all we're doing is paying for installation and some insurance, I suppose, but not actually outright purchasing work, and it can change over and it can be continually reflective of the artists in our community rather than one singular piece. And then I love your suggestion, Judy, about a kind of a more monumental singular sculpture outside that is, it falls like squarely into the category of public art. Yeah.
What's a realistic
Disagreement on
budget
that.
for?
I don't think anyone disagrees with the public art piece outside of the community center or outdoor.
Oh, I know
See
it
if we-
does. Yeah.
Let's just
I'm
see if we
kind
wanna
of
specify that.
specify
Yeah.
that it would be only outdoor. No, I do believe that it can exist indoors. But I think it's true generally that most people, when they think of public art, they think of art in the public realm outside, accessible 24 hours a day, 7 days a week kind of thing. So I'm certainly not going to argue that point. Just because I think we do have a fairly decent, healthy buildup, and we should be using it. This is our mandate. So I think Sarah, maybe a couple action items. Sorry, one sec, Judy. Is to figure out rough costs, ballpark costs on a sizable concrete plinth for mounting. And
Wasn't Phil gonna do that? Phil, weren't you going to price out concrete pad? And check about
Yes.
graphic lake? Well, that latter part was.
okay.
I've talked to an engineer who gave
Oh,
us a
wait,
real.
Phil, hang on
yeah.
a sec. We'll get to that. If that is something you've actually done, great. Let's pick it up a little further down.
Sure.
Okay, thanks. No, that's totally cool. So scratch that from my task list. That's good. Thanks. Good memory, Jillian. And then I guess the other thing would be what I can do is look up some of our past projects with Vancouver in terms of larger poles and the ballpark costs on those, just so we've got something kind of to work with when we're looking at budget.
Does Squamish Nation carve poles?
Well, I saw a video of some sort of a park that was opened on Keats, I think it was, or Gambier maybe, and there was a welcome pole that was put up there. So
Squamish Nation?
I believe so. I mean, that's their traditional, they don't do the Haida totems. So they've got the figure with the arms stretched out with the headdress and,
Went down and
like a welcoming figure.
I think that was a Bob Turner video, actually.
Yes,
One
yeah.
of-
It's an old one. It's been a while since I've seen it, but that was a beautiful thing. So I'm sure there's at least one person that's doing them, and there's probably more than that. And it's just a matter of figuring out, if there's what the range is in terms of prices and who's available. I would think it would take quite some time to build it.
All carvers are different. I've seen some hammer things out within a couple months and others that take a year or more. So yeah, it really just depends on the individual artist, from what I can tell. You had your hand up
So
for something, that was it?
An item, yep.
Okay.
Get a marker. What do we have to do for budget requests?
Yeah,
I think we should pass a recommendation requesting a certain dollar amount. And even if we don't know exactly, it's okay. We're just asking for this amount to be available for us to use.
Mhm.
And if we don't use it all, it'll stay in our reserves. So it's just easier. I mean, it is budget time now, and who knows when we'll meet again to have a recommendation, and then it has to go to council and.
well, I think we could easily make a decent argument for the full amount, $40,000. Yeah.
So I'm gonna recommend that the Public Art Advisory Committee request budget allocation of up to 40,000 for installation of outdoor public art installation.
Major
in the
commission.
Community center.
I was just getting everything open, sorry.
Okay.
I've shared it up there, make it a little big. I get word of it. Do you mind studying?
Request that council set aside a budget allocation for up to $40,000.
Yeah.
For the purchase and installation and maintenance of a,
I think we'll keep maintenance off that because that's an ongoing thing that we address
right,
on it.
purchase and installation of a
Yep, it's okay.
public art piece. Do you want to specify First Nations? We don't know what ballpark is, right?
I think we could safely do that for now. It's not something that we have to necessarily be held to.
Public art piece to commemorate the opening of a community center. First Nations public art piece?
Indigenous?
I think if we include Indigenous in the recommendation and we're challenged to find an artist that's able to do this for us, and then we change the direction, we'd probably have to bring it back to council because it's been approved in this way.
Oh, really? Okay.
I don't know, but
A piece.
I think that's a very specific detail.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay. So, yeah, our advisory committee, budget allocation, up to $40,000 for the. Can we, rather than purchase a commission?
Sure.
Mhm.
Commission and installation, yeah, of a major public art. Work. Piece. Yeah, otherwise great, okay. Yep, okay, so the only question though, Judy, so what we're not doing is allocating all $40,000 for that alone, right? I thought that.
Getting it out of some sort of an allocation in the budget.
Right, but I
That's
thought
the
we
maximum
were,
we can
the
spend.
maximum amount that we would request the council set aside 40,000. So for one, commission installation of major public artwork. Also fabrication of a,
That's the installation part.
no, I'm talking about, because there's two things we were thinking of doing. Was the earlier one was just a standardized concrete plinth in which we could host rotating sculptural works. Because that's been on the table for quite a while, right? And so I want to keep that alive as well. So.
But for this, we could actually say something like, and other smaller projects to be completed within the year, something like that. We wouldn't have to specify potentially.
I don't know, you're Muni, what's the language you feel most comfortable presenting to council?
Well, I think this one would just go in a consent agenda anyway, probably, because it's just about the allocation of the funds that already are committed to this. And council will still have to have final approval over any works anyway, right? So I think we would say, sorry, other smaller projects to be complete,
To be approved by council.
as approved by council.
Okay, and are we not including the $2,500 for maintenance of existing works?
That doesn't need to be at this level.
That level, okay.
No, this is capital and it's a substantial sum of money, so.
Right. Okay.
Judy, you know well what, like how that will be received at council, that's written.
Well, if the money's already in a reserve, then that's easy.
Yeah.
Much easier. Increase taxes.
No, there's no tax implications here, so.
Okay, I'm gonna move to accept that budget request.
That's been moved. I need seconder. Oh, you're moving it. All right. Go for it. Go for it. I'll second.
It was just up there, I thought I'd jump in. Okay,
Is that unanimous then?
Unanimous all the way around? Yes?
I'm in favor.
Okay,
Oh, we lost Phil.
great. Thank you all for that. That was great. Of course, every discussion always brings up more to be discussed.
Right.
Great. Okay, moving on to number 6, new business. Jillian, let's go to 6.1, your lovely checklist.
Well, this is, let me just explain what this is. So I started thinking about the fact that we seemed slightly stuck sometimes as a committee. We weren't progressing things sometimes. So I started to think of what is there that I could do to help us be unstuck? Why are we stuck? I was trying to figure out why I thought we were stuck. And then so I was looking at our policy. Oh, look at that. Look. There. Yeah. I know, I just I thought we lost you. So combined with the fact that I think it's a challenge sometimes for us all to maintain all these elements of the policy top of mind when we're not dealing with it on a very regular basis. So I started thinking, I wonder if something like a checklist that's just saying, like we say in the policy, we require this, and we say in the policy, we're going to do this in order to accept a donation or to commission a piece of work. So I'm thinking, would this help us not be quite as stuck, to have something that we could go through like a checklist? So Sarah, if you could put that up. This is very much like a very, very, very first draft, just for us to have something to look at. And like, if this is a useful tool for us to work on, if you all say, no, that's completely useless, we don't need anything like that, then no harm, no foul, not that much done. Right? But I just thought maybe it would help. Maybe it
I
would
think
help
it's a great
us.
idea.
So what I did was go through our policy and pull out pieces of that policy that were specifically about things that we're saying we're requesting of the artists, or things that are procedural that we say that we'll do. And I sort of tried to put it in this checklist form. So at least when we're then coming forth with things, we can say, we've done this, we've done this, we've done this. So that very first section, general criteria guiding acquisition, that's taken bullet for bullets out of Appendix A in the acquisition procedure. It's just straight, I didn't change language on anything. So these were just sort of overall guiding criteria. The next part, sorry, Sarah, you can scroll down. So I think you can start to see what I was trying to do here, right? So I was trying to pull from the acquisitions procedure, from the donations procedure, what are we saying that we need in order to be able to make a consideration on this, on any particular project? Yeah, I didn't go too far because I thought I'll just see what you all think about this as just sort of a check off. Something we would do. So, yeah, I'm interested in comments, and if you feel it would help our process, great. If you feel it's just another thing that we don't need and we all know our policies well.
Getting busy, Sam.
Oh, sorry, I'm spinning it.
Oh. So that's where that's at.
Great. Amazing. Thank you for this.
So this is for acquisition. Yeah, basically.
For donations,
So someone like with Simeon,
yeah.
this would be something that we would follow.
So if we were commissioning, if we were receiving a donation, like for anything, we would follow, because all of these things we say that we need all the time. Yeah,
Yeah, this is strictly acquisition checklist.
yeah.
So donations fall under that.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that would be direct purchase, commissioning, competitions, direct commissions, RFPs, or our projects, donations, like it's all of it.
Adjudication. Does that need to be in there?
For some of it, too.
Absolutely. So that would be in the process of, there we go, selection panel review, or we can say adjudication. I just tried to use the language from the policy.
Last mystery, helping them.
Well, we probably
This
don't
is
need the
this-
very initial part, because that's. Oh, okay. Or
Let me
just
see.
also,
You
yeah,
want me
this
to swap
Oh, wait, hang on, no, you can't, it makes sense.
them?
well, it's just up to, what anybody wants to talk about, or, if this is an activity, something that's worth doing, should we complete it and so we can use it or forget it? What do you think?
Thoughts, anyone?
I think it is great. I think it's a good idea. Yeah, we'll see what happens when the schedule hits real life, but that's always
Exactly,
the
yeah.
case, right? So,
No, I think it's great. I mean, it's you're basically condensing, simplifying the language that is in there. And I, for one, have not memorized that document. So this is, I know, I'm sorry to disappoint you all. But for each, I like how you've broken it out into, each artwork can have a procedure checklist document attached to it so that we know where we are in the process and who's done what and who still has to do what. I think it's super helpful. I would love to be able to continue this. Is that a thing? Do you want input? Do you want to continue with that? Do you want someone else to take it? What's your what?
Any
how
of
do
the
you-
above is great, and yeah. Absolutely.
So could I make a recommendation then that you share this document draft to the committee and that the task list for everybody is to review it against the actual acquisition.
An action item, or do you want another one of these?
No, an action item would be great. Yeah, just but for all of PAC. So the action item would be Jillian sends the document draft to all of us, and all of us are responsible for reviewing it and comparing it against the acquisition policy and adding or editing anything they think is missing or could be improved. And let me just make that let's just do that for the next meeting. That's our job.
I find visuals like this very helpful.
Yeah.
So I'm really good at reading documents and going through that, but I think the actual visual. So I'm thinking that if we've got some sort of an asset binder, whether it's digital or hard copy, that this is, there's pictures of Simeon's mural and there's this document that's attached to it and it's like it's in the file somewhere.
And we could add sections in for processes that maybe weren't required, but that took place, him coming as a delegation, for example, and note that. So it is a records management.
Sure, yeah, absolutely. I think we can use all the help we can get.
Right.
So I'm thinking of that inventory that we had, and it's like there's so much background we had to really search for that we still haven't found. So
Yes.
this would be, if we start doing this kind of detail, it'd be good.
Right. Carrying forward, we can,
Yeah.
fill in those blanks and actually have that record existing in a usable format. Yeah. Great.
Okay.
Anything else? Mary Lynn, can you still, yeah, you're still with us. Thank you. Okay. Any questions, Mary Lynn? I'm always looking at you. Oh, you're muted. I can't hear you.
What I can see on the screen there, can you just scroll up a little bit, Sarah, so I can see just above? Is there like a due date on there? Yeah, so I was just thinking extra things to add to it. But yeah, I think it's great too. And I think Judy's comment about, record keeping, I think it's excellent. Yeah, great job, Jillian.
All right. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Thanks. If anybody feels like, spearheading the finishing up this, feel free to.
Well, I'll jump in. We have to, now is our turn to help out.
Okay, I will send that.
Excellent. Thank you. Okay, so I guess if anyone has any other last comments before we go to 6.2 and move to a closed meeting, is there any last bit? No. Okay. So I recommend that we
We move it
We move to a closed meeting.
Second,
under section 91 sub B of the community charter. I think we have to say it out loud.
You have to say it out loud? All right.
Personal information about an identifiable individual who's being considered for a municipal award or honor who has offered to provide a gift to the municipality on condition of anonymity.
Like it. Anyone can grant?
Everybody in agreement? Yes. All hands up.
So, but
No, it is. You know, I think, I see this everywhere. I think, we're a really small little operation here, but it's so easy to get overwhelmed by the, you know,
yeah.